For years, everyone thought Verizon had the best network, because they did. But now the best mobile network in the U.S. is T-Mobile. T-Mobile's network has the most advanced 5G, with more towers, and their signal reaches further than ever. So you can text and Insta-Talk and say, "You won't believe where I am."
T-Mobile has the best mobile network in the U.S. based on analysis by Ookla of speed test intelligence data 1H 2025. See T-Mobile.com/network.
This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. The weather might be changing, but the feeling of being right never gets old. PrizePicks takes your weekend to a new level. We're talking easy stuff. You know what you're doing. More or less, like Saquon Barkley, more or less than 1 rushing touchdown. Games with Patrick Mahomes, more or less than 2.5 passing touchdowns. You know what we're talking about. We're playing fantasy. We're playing DFS. Jump in the PrizePicks app. You will not regret it. It makes the weekend so much more fun, and it's really easy to do. Just download the PrizePicks app today and use code DFS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code DFS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right.
To the Fantasy Footballers DFS and Betting Podcast with your hosts, Kyle Borganoni and Matthew Betz.
Welcome in. November 11th here. Fantasy Footballers DFS and Betting Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Borganoni, well-rested, and I am joined, as always, by Matthew. That was a poor showing on Monday Night Bets.
You thought Geno Smith and Bo Nix was a terrible experience on your television last Thursday night? Can I introduce you to the Eagles and Packers, which played the game like it was 1946? That was so tough to watch. Like, truthfully, if you didn't play a DFS lineup or something, or you didn't like need Saquon or Josh Jacobs or whatever, or you're not an Eagles fan or a Packers fan, I can't imagine sitting through that game. I mean, that was brutal. It got exciting in the second half, of course. Came down to the wire, but you picked a good night to go to bed early. I, of course, was awake, sweating the Eagles. But, man, there's been some... And even Sunday Night Football was not that good of a watch, Chargers and Steelers. These primetime games this week were not great, I'll say.
Yeah, I made the life decision last night. I go, well, I don't really have a lot riding on this game. I don't need it in any of my home leagues. I think I might go to bed. I think it's 8:45, and maybe I should just go to bed. And I wake up and I see the headlines and everything. I go, man, I made a good life decision.
You really did. I watched some of the highlights this morning, and it was like, man, there's like 2 highlights from the entire game. Both defenses played incredibly well, but it was a snoozer for sure. And the thing that made it even better was, of course it was in Lambeau. It was freezing and it was cold, and it was the whole, this is the way football is played, but it's cold weather game. It was just classic. But the Birds got it done, so I'm happy on this Tuesday morning. I know a lot of people had some success in Showdown last night, so that's fun too. Chris and I did a special Discord event on Monday afternoon talking through this game, and Chris's article pretty much, I don't want to say he predicted this, but he was big on the under. We talked through that. He liked DeMonta Smith over A.J. Brown, so that was awesome. And
nice.
He liked the defenses. So I hope somebody out there won something huge reading that. I know I had a decent night as well, and we had 3 props from that Discord event that we did. We went 3-0 in those, so that was fun. We have another one of those coming up. I think it's in 2 weeks. Hopefully you'll be on that one, Kyle. But we've added those just as an extra little Monday preview event, and a lot of people were there, and it was a really, really fun thing to do. So again, the Discord, if you have the DFS pass, it is part of that. Get in there. It's super fun, man. And people are always talking ball and, sharing lineups and all that stuff. I really do love it.
Yes, and it's really just something that we want to create at least an opportunity for people to, continue to have conversation throughout the week. What we talk about on this Tuesday podcast, people get to bring up, but then it kind of informs our conversation as we go throughout the week, as we get to Friday's podcast. And I'm really excited. I know there will be lots of conversation when we talk about the Thanksgiving slate, which is just 2 weeks away.
Oh, baby.
Which is crazy. Yeah. So lots of good stuff on the DFS calendar coming up. Like Betz mentioned, if you want everything we have, dfspass.com. We think that it can pay for itself if you play the game the right way. And yeah, every single week we jump in and we review first.
Weekly Rewind.
On the website, we have our cash review and small field GPP review articles that Betz and I write. I think the Week 10 slate, there was a lot of parts to it that felt really, really straightforward. We were very clear on playing Devon Achane in cash. And then in tournaments, we're like, this dude's just a great play. I don't care what game. If you don't want to stack up that game, he's just a great play. He went off for 43 points. No big deal. But it really came down to how did you maneuver the slate at wide receiver, like your wide receiver 2 and 3 spots, and then the tight end position. So I was really fortunate that I landed on a cash lineup where I said, I have to have Trey McBride in this lineup no matter what. I didn't play him at tight end, I actually flexed him. So I went 12 personnel this week. And our boy Trey McBride, who was our tight end 1 in best plays, went for 30 points. The thing that shocked me the most is that he ended up being played by less than 30% of the field in a lot of double ups. Did that surprise you at all, considering at his price tag at $6K, he was projecting better than maybe all the wide receivers in that range?
I don't think it surprised me too much for a couple of reasons. One is people sometimes get a little queasy playing 2 tight ends, especially in cash. I know I hate it, but when McBride is your second tight end, think of him as a wide receiver. We've mentioned that a couple times with some of these elite guys. The other thing that I think kept him in check, just in general, and this was true for this slate that is kind of not been the case all year. Every year in cash, it's like, this is the team. You can make 1 or 2 pivots, but that's kind of what everybody's playing. This is the first week, I think, all season on DraftKings where I literally made like 5 or 6 teams like throughout the weekend, and I was like, I like all of these. And there wasn't like a clear, like, you got to play this guy, you got to play that guy. I think everybody pretty much showed up with Achane and Rico Dowdle, but outside of those two, there was no consensus on like, who is the spin-up wide receiver this week? Do you go with Josh Allen or do you punt it off with like Mac Jones or Jackson Dart or, I played Drake May? Like, there was just so many options you could go, and that funneled people into different builds, which I think that's fun. Like, that's the way I like to play, where it's not so cookie cutter and everybody copies off each other's paper. So that's why I think McBride was kind of held in check. I was fortunate to play him as well. Kind of like you, I played him as my flex with Hunter Henry, who had a nice day of cardio out there. But that's kind of why I think that was the case. So yeah, it was an interesting week for cash, and I'm interested to see kind of like how it moves moving forward, because I feel like the pricing dynamic this week on DK was different in some ways, where we had so many studs at the top, running back and wide receiver. Like, you couldn't really fit Christian McCaffrey and 2 of the stud wide receivers. So you have to make difficult decisions. And as we start to slowly come out of the bye weeks, that's going to be the case again moving forward, where there are so many good plays and it's tough to kind of justify which one you want to go with. But overall, these are the slates I like to play the most. And I know we both had a decent week because of that. So I like this way of playing, not just, everybody playing the same lineup.
Yeah, I was fortunate. Like, I played Josh Allen, so I spent up. And for the majority of that time in the early window, I was like, well, I made a poor life decision. He ends up still finishing with a flame next to his name, despite the fact it was the dirtiest of garbage time. So I think my takeaway is that you can win in a couple different ways in cash if the field is kind of split on what they want to do. So at quarterback, they were split. At wide receiver, was it Puka, JSN, or Amon-Ra? And the field was kind of split on that and what it was. And it did allow you to fit in somebody like Trey McBride. So interesting slate. I was fortunate to double up, to get past the cash line and double ups yet again, thanks to Trey McBride. And any other notes you want to say about tournaments? Like, I had some tournaments lineups that were pretty live. I had one in the Millie Maker that got up there around the 200 mark, which obviously in the Millie Makers doesn't really matter. But Jameson Williams was one of those plays that we highlighted. And then Jahmyr Gibbs in that same game. So I played a team with Gibbs and Jameson on it, and it was live for a while.
Yeah, I'm glad we talked through that spot for the Lions, because, we got a question during the Discord event yesterday. Somebody asked about Sims and kind of how we use them, if we use them at all or don't, and kind of how they're affecting DFS. And I mentioned, I personally do not. I know a lot of other players that do, and they do quite well with them. Chris does sometimes. I know other people do. And there's no right or wrong. Like, it's just kind of how you like to play. But I also said, we need to understand sims aren't just like click buttons and you print money. There is like a, when you have a take, you should push it, and you think you have an edge, you should push it. I mentioned in that Discord event, and I talked about that on Friday, like, I felt so strong. The numbers aren't going to tell you this, but I feel so strong. The Lions are going to hang 35 plus on the Commanders because of Dan Campbell, off a loss, all those things that like aren't going to show up in the projections. So I played a ton of Lions. I unfortunately did not have the right combination of Jameson and Gibbs. I had a Monty and JMO team. I had a Amon-Ra, one-off play, like stuff like that. So I felt good that, I was on that stuff. I unfortunately didn't have the right combinations. I did have a good team going in small field, which you can read about on the site. I played a Baker double, and I had Trayvon Henderson in there as well. So fun slate for tournaments too. I thought this was one of those slates where, leaning into like game environments made a lot of sense because there were a few that I really like to attack, specifically that New England Tampa Bay game, and then Detroit onslaughts. But yeah, I know a lot of people in Discord and in the DFS Pass had a nice week. Hopefully, Kyle, one of these weeks we can come on here and say one of us took down something huge. We've been close, but nothing crazy this year so far.
Yeah, I didn't have Davis Mills in any of my tournament lineups.
Dude, the Jaguars, man. I mean, that's a horrendous loss.
That made me happy is not the right word. I've been pretty down on Trevor Lawrence for a while in terms of how it can work in the NFL. We profiled him on the Dynasty podcast, talked about him over the summer. Just like, okay, so are we saying we like Trevor Lawrence because of Liam Cohen? Or if we look at the player and the player alone, we're like, this is not working. This doesn't work in the modern NFL. Going into the weekend, the only players with lower passer rating than him were Dylan Gabriel and Cam Ward. So not great, buddy. Anyway, it was an interesting overall tournament slate. It was nice to see Trayvon Henderson go off, and then some darts that you and I threw out there I thought were really, really fun that they got to hit. So good stuff. We did have some listeners and DFS Pass members that won big. So this first one is from Shank on Discord. Got first place. He put up 221 in a tournament, which is pretty nice. Looks like he had JMO on that team. We also had Trev, who got first in the red zone. So a 10K win from Trev, which is, man, that's some really, really good stuff. And then JC Fins says, I cashed out with my winnings. Looks like he won over $1,000 in the fair catch, a single entry. Dinner at Chili's is on me, boys. And looks like a similar team with Jameson Williams, Trayvon Henderson, Devon Achane, Baker double stack, like a lot of the same principles that we've talked about.
For sure. I also love that his team had Romadunze on it. And we have a growing narrative in the NFL, Kyle. The father narrative, the father complaining narrative. I mean, we're 2 for 2. Marv went off last two weeks ago. Rome goes off this week. I thought that was so funny when they asked him about that. He said, thanks, Dad. So if anybody out there sees any NFL player's father complaining publicly, please alert us immediately.
It's interesting because I don't know if this is actually changing anything about the player's performance. It's changing more about the coaching and the play calling so far, like from Marv Sr. and your buddy James Dunze. I was thinking the other day of like how my sons, they're very different. My 9-year-old and my 6-year-old are very different in how they like approach things, their personalities, even baseball. Where like my youngest, who just won the championship, would be totally fine. Like he's like the star player on his team, and like halfway through the game, he's like, I think I'm done playing. Where my oldest like would die. Like he's just like, I would die on the field for my team. So it's like, I don't really know what they need, but maybe I just need to go out in the media. I need to hold a press conference for my kids if things aren't going well.
There you go. Yeah, if they're not getting enough playing time, if you're not happy with their performance, you just got to take to social media and complain publicly.
I've never really like called a press conference. It's kind of like when Michael Scott does it, in the office, where he's like, he wants to call one and give a statement. I got to figure out the best way to do that. I'm obviously not going to run through corporate. They don't really know how to handle those things. I definitely don't want to talk to Mike about it, who's in charge of HR. He would not know what to do. So maybe I'll need to talk to maybe I'll go like a backdoor route and talk to like our manager like our agent and stuff for the footballers.
There you
see
go.
what he's going to do.
Speaking of Michael Scott, go Tyler Shuck. Love that guy. Go Saints. Go Dolphins.
Oh, yeah.
Huge week for Survivor for us.
Well, if you take a look at this, I tented my pants.
I mean, that Thursday night sweat, dude. Of course, the show came out after the game, but we haven't recorded since. Holy crap. I mean, that was terrible. But yeah, we kind of said like, it seems like a pretty chalky week for Survivor. You know, probably not going to have too many teams knocked out. Friendly reminder, the NFL, any week, anything can happen. So the Panthers were really popular. That was huge. And then obviously nobody saw the Dolphins upsetting Buffalo. So those were huge for us. So our pool that started at about 10,500 is down to just over 800 people entering week 11. And it's starting to get tricky on these choices. So we'll see what we do come Friday.
I was incredibly stressed yesterday. Incredibly stressed going through and mapping out the final 8 weeks and talking through it with Betz. And we still haven't even arrived at what we're going to do. I'll tell you this. We can't take the Patriots, which is on Thursday night. So we're going to wait until Friday's podcast. But it is a fun thing if you're in a Survivor pool or if you've ever been in one to root for teams that you could give two farts about, like the Saints. When they got ahead, I was like, oh man, our Saints, you know, as a Falcons fan, there's Falcons fans like, you're not allowed to say that. No. Very pro Saints on Sunday. I was very much pro Saints because obviously I couldn't be pro Falcons. We couldn't close the deal in Germany.
How'd Jonathan Taylor do in that game?
Oh, he did great, man. I felt very conflicted. My kids didn't know how I was feeling because I had Jonathan Taylor in my main home league. And he goes off. I'm like, gosh, that's really a lot of fantasy points. But also we just lost. And yes, we have a top 10 pick now. I understand that. That's not ours for this next year.
I was going to say, you don't have anything.
You know, there's a couple of ways you can look at that, Betz. You can say that we traded our first round pick because we thought that James Pierce was worth a top 10 pick this year.
Okay, you could tell me on that.
That's the logic, and that's why everyone will be fired just shortly after the Falcons finish once again 7-10, 8-8, whatever we end up finish. All right, let's take a quick break, and then we'll talk about the Week 11 slate.
On November 14th, the Now You See Me movie franchise is back. The Four Horsemen of Magic, Jesse Eisenberg, Woody Harrelson, Dave Franco, and Isla Fisher are reuniting for their biggest heist yet. This film delivers everything fans want. Surprises, stunning practical magic, and a few twists. It's the most fun your whole family will have in the theater this fall. Now You See Me, Now You Don't. Rated PG-13. Only in theaters Friday. Get tickets.
Here for the Lowe's early Black Friday deals? You're right on time for some of our biggest savings. We're talking up to 50% off select major appliances, plus up to an extra 25% off when you bundle select major appliances. Holiday lights going up soon? Select ladders are up to 50% off right now. Get Black Friday prices without the Black Friday crowds. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 11/19. Selection varies by location. Select locations only. While supplies last. See Lowe's.com for more details.
State of the main slate.
All right, for Week 11, we have an 11-game main slate because there's Thursday night game. Patriots are heavily favored. And then there's a game in Madrid between the Dolphins and the Commanders. And then, of course, our Monday night game. Monday night game is great. Dallas and Las Vegas. That should be a fun one as well. And then your Eagles. You guys just always end up on primetime. I feel kind of sad for you.
Dude, that's going to be a crazy good game. Lions and Eagles on Sunday Night Football. I'm worried, man. I'm worried.
Is it like when you have the island games and you're a good team, like you guys are, it feels so much more stressful when you can kind of like blend it in to just the main slate where you're like, okay, I really want us to win, but I've got a lot of things going on right now that I'm thinking about. If it's Sunday night or if it's Monday night, it's like, this is the only thing, and we're the worst of the worst when it's bad.
Yep.
And then when we win, it's great, but it just seems way more stressful. See, we don't have that problem. We're just more of a main slate team.
Yeah, no issue for us. They either put us over in Europe or, I mean, they They would play the Vikings on Sunday Night Football, and like week 2
Won
or
that
week
game.
3, they won that game. So
Bills, Monday night, won that game.
that's right. Hey, maybe they are a primetime team.
I don't think so.
You know
All
when
right,
they
so
play?
we have,
Week 17, the Rams.
Oh, yeah, that's the game.
Monday Night Football to decide best ball and fantasy championships. There's no way the Falcons let us down when we need them most.
I thought about that game so much. It's sad that I'm already looking forward to that game in the Falcons season. But there's an 11-game main slate, and we do have some games in the afternoon window. I know that we've had a couple of weeks where it's just 3 games in the afternoon window. It's not great, but there's 4, and all 4 of them at least are interesting to talk about. The highest total game of the week is Tampa Bay at Buffalo. Both teams are coming off a loss. So there's interesting narrative at play. 49.5 over-under. That one's definitely like circled as, man, I can't wait to talk about that game later on in the week, Bills and Buccaneers. But the teams with the highest implied totals for Week 11 are kind of all scrunched together. And one of the teams shocked me, just absolutely shocked me that they are tied. So the teams with the highest implied total of the week is Buffalo, who I just mentioned at 27.5. And then it's the Steelers, who just had a terrible Sunday night game, also at 27.5. Is that surprising, or is that just saying how bad the Bengals defense is?
I was going to say, this is not about the Steelers. It is about the Bengals defense, I believe. But it's a divisional rematch. Historically, sometimes these are a little bit lower scoring. That said, there is no such thing as a low scoring game for the Bengals defense. But I was shocked to see that as well, because I know that Thursday night game when these teams played, a month ago or whatever it was, it got nutty and went to overtime, and that's when Flacco and Rodgers were just kind of throwing haymakers back and forth. This Steelers offense is just not built to go out and win games for that team. Like, when you have DK Metcalf and you're giving him 4 or 5 targets a game, something is just not right. That said, the Bengals are the get right spot for everybody, so I understand why it's there. My lean early in the week, just kind of looking at it, was like, that feels high. But maybe I'm just being too recency biased.
Bengals coming off the bye right now. If I was going to take it as a sides and totals kind of guy,
Of course,
I take the Bengals plus 5.5.
that makes sense to me.
Okay. The other teams on this slate that have a fairly high implied total, so it's the Bills and Steelers at the top, and then it is the Packers at 26, the Vikings at 25.8, so they're at home against the Bears. And then a couple other teams. So we have San Francisco and the Rams at 25.5. They are both 2.5-point favorites. And then the Ravens are an interesting team in the late window because usually they play in the early. They are 8.5-point road favorites in Cleveland. That is a game that you and I have circled as of right now, as we haven't used the Ravens yet. They're getting healthy, or they've been healthy. They're on a roll. I feel like we still haven't seen Lamar fully unleashed as a runner either, but they're in a really good spot against a Browns team that is circling the drain. They did have a vote of confidence. Kevin Stefanski said, yeah, I think it's still going to be Dylan Gabriel. I just got to coach him up. What do you think Dylan needs?
Jesus. I don't know. It's so funny. I forget who it is on Twitter, but they post a worst throws of the week. It's like a montage of the worst throws. And this guy is just, poor Dylan. It's it's comedy, right? It's like he's doing it on purpose to be funny, but it's like the 6 worst throws of the week, and they're all Dylan Gabriel. And they're all behind the guy, or at his feet, or sails him, never had a chance to complete the pass, just stuff like that. I'm honestly shocked they're being so committed to saying this is the starter no matter what. You do have to at least see what Shedeur can do. You spent a draft pick on him, just see. So I don't know if it's this week or next week or when, but I feel like he's going to start at some point. But yeah, Ravens rolling, they're healthy. The Browns, they've shocked the Packers, so who knows? And it is a divisional matchup, which I usually hate. But just the Ravens, the momentum's there, they're healthy, all those things. So early in the week, they're circled for us.
I did want to bring up, I won't call him my boy or my dude, But I just want to bring up that Jerry Jeudy was somebody we highlighted on the podcast last week. I was laughed off the podcast. And my theory was literally just this. He's been as bad as it gets. They're changing up the play caller. It's Tommy Reese. And he saw 12 targets. He's going to be somebody we talk about again for cash as like, hey, he's in the pool. But just it was nice to see that we get a PPR option from a really, really crappy team. So just wanted to throw that out there. I think that Tampa Bay and Buffalo is going to be one of the games that people want to attack and stack up this week. I mentioned that both teams are coming off losses. Both teams this past week completely gashed by explosive runs. It was Hendo, it was Achane, and Buffalo for the last couple years has been a run funnel. They're bottom 5 in almost every single rushing metric you want to look at. So they were last year and they are again. It's an interesting matchup. Josh Allen, whose price did not change at all, despite, a garbage time game. So his price is the same. We know that Baker is somebody that you can stack up. In fact, the Millie Maker winner did a Baker triple stack this past week. So at 49.5, it would not shock me if that game gets up to 50. It's in Buffalo. So that one's probably early in the week, probably going to be the most popular to stack.
Yeah, Buffalo, they just have really key injuries defensively, and I know Tampa's banged up as well, but it does look like a really good game environment. The tricky thing is, I'm not sure the Bucs rushing attack can take advantage of the matchup. We kind of saw that with the Chiefs a couple weeks ago, right? They don't really have a legit run game. Teams that do can gash Buffalo on the ground. We saw it with Bijan and the Falcons, obviously Achane last week. So we'll see. I'm not sure how to attack it yet, but yeah, that does look good. Did the triple stack, I assume, had Cade Otton in the Millie Maker winner?
Yes, of course.
I played Cade. I played the man with the tape fingers. Was that a career high in targets, 12?
I need to look back, but I'm proud that he's getting the recognition he deserves.
I'm so proud of him.
He's in a contract year.
Dude. So I played him, so I was watching the game very closely, and I had Drake May in cash, so I was glued to the game. Man, Cade Otton looks like he's going to leave the field every time he gets hit. He just gets destroyed. So, Cade, protect yourself, buddy. I think one of the other games that's going to be pretty popular is San Francisco and Arizona. We get the dome matchup in Arizona. Both quarterbacks remain very, very cheap. The stacking partners aren't expensive at all. They didn't really move Kittle and McBride enough, in my opinion, on DraftKings, so they're still affordable if you want to go there. And Jacoby's been very, very good when he's not pressured. San Francisco on the year, because of all their injuries on the defensive line and that sort of thing, they're dead last in pressure rate. So I actually do like this spot for the Cardinals offense to kind of keep rolling here with Jacoby. And then on the other side, always trust Kyle Shanahan, especially off a loss, to come back and kind of right some of the issues they had last week. So I like that game early in the week.
Yeah, and who knew that Mac Jones and Jacoby Brissett would bring us the type of joy that we desire in fantasy football? Brissett, in his starts bets, is averaging 280 passing yards per game. And Jones is basically right behind him. So, if you would have told me in August that, hey, by the way, these are the quarterbacks that are going to be supporting top-end options every single week, and they're still cheap, though. Have you seen their prices that, DK's just not budging?
Yeah, they're still way too cheap for how good they've been. I know people that played Jacoby in cash last week. He was, $4,600 a week ago?
Yes.
So, yeah, they don't have to be that good at that price to pay it off.
Yeah, I think one of the sneakier games this week you have listed here is the Vikings at home against the Bears. I will say that J.J. McCarthy play-to-play is super frustrating. I could say the same thing about Caleb Williams, though, where they both think that when the pocket breaks down, their job is to press circle on the PlayStation remote and just keep spinning, and hopefully it ends up. Now, Caleb had a couple plays like that where it worked out. Last year it didn't work out a ton. But McCarthy drives me crazy, man. I was watching that game very, very closely, and the whole time I was like, none of these passes I feel like have a legit probability to get caught. I think his completion percentage on the season is 54%. It's absurdly bad play to play. But I do think that the way that these defenses play, Chicago's been bad in every aspect. Minnesota's just super volatile. They blitz a ton. We talked about that in the matchup last week with Lamar. But because they blitz, it opens up a lot of opportunities in the quick passing game. So I actually kind of like Loveland in this game as well. So anyway, I think it's a sneaky matchup. It's at 48.5. It's in a dome. I think it's a good one.
Yeah, I could see it going either way. Like, I could see both quarterbacks kind of crumbling here. Like, with McCarthy, it's just his issues. Like you said, like, the scripted drives in the first quarter are looking great. But then, like, in the second half of games, he's just like, I don't know if he's like doing his 9 persona or what. He's just like so juiced up. Like, every ball is sailing as, his pass catchers. He's kind of really struggled with accuracy. Like, so he's got a long way to go. But like for DFS last week at his price, he was fine because he's running, he's scrambling, that kind of stuff. And then on the other side with Caleb, you mentioned like play to play. It's still not, there's still a wide range of outcomes on what you're going to get. But for DFS tournaments, where all we care about is like hitting the high end outcomes anyway, you're seeing so many plays from Caleb this year that reminds us why they took him first overall last year. The wow plays are still incredible. Like some of his scrambling this past week was awesome. And to his credit, we gave him a hard time last year about this. To his credit, which I do want to give him, flowers for this, like he's been quietly very good against the blitz. He's 8th in passer rating. He's 4th in YPA. He's 6th in EPA per dropback. And he's actually avoiding sacks, which he did not do last year.
Yeah, last year he was the worst.
When he was blitz, he took 29 sacks last year. That was dead last or most, however you want to put it, in the league. This year he's taken just 7 against the blitz. So he is developing. It's not been like the smoothest process, but he is developing. And I think you're finally seeing some things click with Ben Johnson. So like I said, the blitz rate from Minnesota can make this game go any number of directions. We saw him, Brian Flores, give Jared Goff and the Lions a really tough time a couple weeks ago. So it wouldn't surprise me if this fails. But for tournaments, I think the upside is certainly there.
In terms of a game that I want to be underweight on, I just have no confidence in Atlanta and Carolina. I don't think either of these teams fully know what they are, because with Carolina, you go, well, they try to run the ball. They did a couple of weeks ago when they beat Atlanta at home. This one's going to be in the bins.
Uh-oh.
In the dome. So
I feel bad for Bryce Young, buddy.
He should, man. I mean, Atlanta is turned into an absolute run funnel. They are number 1 in passing yards per game allowed, and then you kind of saw Jonathan Taylor do his thing. They are 31st versus fantasy running backs for the last month. So I think Rico's still going to get played a lot, and it makes a ton of sense here. I think Bijan is also a really good play, although Tyler Algier is the one getting all the work inside the 5. But right now, the total's at 42.5. The Falcons are 3.5-point home favorites, and man, are they tempting. Real tempting in Survivor to go, man, maybe we should use the Falcons here. We'll never use them. Nope, can't do it. Off the table. Decided I'm not going down this way. So I think this game is appropriately set at 42.5.
I agree. I'm going to also throw out being underweight KC and Denver. It has been enticing to stack Mahomes because the Chiefs have shown what we have known the Chiefs as in the past of, high pass rate, explosive, putting up points. Denver's defense is just awesome. And these divisional matchups where these teams know each other very well, I think defenses can shine. Obviously, Bo Nix has had many issues this year as well. Last year when these teams played, and it wasn't week 18 when the backups played, the game was 16-14. I could see a very similar type of situation here as well. So give me underweight stances on KC and Denver.
You remember Mahomes' first game in his career? It was like a week 17 or 17 start. I guess back then it would have been 17. Played against Denver. And I'm just thinking about the way that he's performed against them, that I think it's easy for us to kind of bake in what Mahomes used to be and kind of how we've seen a resurgence in the last, really this season we've seen a resurgence. In his career, Betz, he has 1 loss to the Broncos. Just 1.
So, Chiefs and Survivor?
We already used them, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I have lots of thoughts about the Broncos offense. We talked about that a couple of different times on
How do
the
you
podcast,
feel about a trick play to Cortland Sutton on 3rd and 1? Because that was sick.
I don't know if there's anything I hate more in life than that play. I hated it so much, and all of my anger was directed towards Sean Payton. I know a lot of people, Bo Nix has gotten destroyed on Twitter from just like, oh, we never thought he was a good quarterback. I want to take the conversation off him and just simply say, I think Sean Payton sniffs his own farts a lot.
Oh, dude. Like, can NFL coaches just be normal for once? Like, can we just do normal things when it makes sense? Like, on that drive, Dobbins is just gashing him, for 4, 5, 6 yards of carry. Like, they're moving the chains. It's going very well. They get to 3rd and 1. They're like, you know what? They'll see that coming. We can't do that. We can't run a normal play. They're going to expect that. Let's call a trick play to Cortland Sutton. So it's just silly. The same thing happened last night with on that 4th and 1 that the Packers ran. Like, did you hear the Eagles defensive tackle call out inside zone? Like, if everybody in the building and the defense knows what you're doing, like, you have to. Can we just be smarter? Like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem that hard to me. But I'm just a nerd in my mom's basement. So what do I know? But every week you see something and you're just like, what are we doing out there? Come on.
See, we don't have the technology yet, Betz, to be able to understand how to do this. The team that I'm most confident in hitting the over their implied totals, a game we talked about a little bit, is San Francisco and Arizona. It looks like we both like that game. We both like the over. And right now, both of those teams are top 5 in offensive plays run per game. So when we preview that one from a pace of play standpoint, it does profile as a back and forth affair with Mac Jones and Jacoby Brissett and a 49ers defense that has 0 pass rush. Maybe the worst in the league, especially with Nick Bosa out. So the 49ers, their implied totals at 25.5. Arizona is at 23. I think we just both like that game.
Yeah, for sure. With Jacoby, the Cardinals have scored 27, 23, 27, 22 points. And like you talked about, the pressure rate is just not there for the Niners. They are, over the last 5 weeks, 30th in EPA per play. And on the season, they're dead last in pressure rate. When Jacoby is clean from the pocket, he's 8th in YPA so far this year. So it just sets up, I think, pretty well for Jacoby Brissett. And on the other side, the Cardinals do have, I think, when they're healthy, a decent defense that has some ceiling to it. They had some cornerback issues going into last week's game. I'm not sure on their health, but if they have those guys out again, certainly it upgrades the matchup for Mac Jones, George Kittle, all those guys. So I do like this game a lot early in the week.
A team that had a lot of question marks earlier in the week, and we'll probably find out more, is the Giants. I would probably be taking the under of their implied total right now. It's at 18.5. They play the Packers. Maybe we get Jameis. Maybe we get Russ. Regardless, I think it's not a great matchup for them. Also, if you look at Green Bay and the Giants, both teams rank bottom 10 in combined points per game. So you kind of know what the Packers want to do. They want to run the football, and the Giants are one of those run funnel teams that you can. Last week, I need to see the updated stats, but they were number 1 in yards before contact allowed.
Let's stick in New York. I'll take the Jets under 16.5 on a
Take that, New York.
on a short week on Thursday Night Football. Obviously, Garrett Wilson's going to miss a few games here. They can't really throw the football, and the problem is they're taking on a New England defense that is one of, if not the best run defenses in the league. So stylistically, in terms of how this matches up for Jets offense versus the Patriots defense, it's just couldn't be worse, in my opinion. And the other note I have here is just, which coach do I trust on a short week? And that is not the Jets coach, Aaron Glenn. So I'll take under 16.5.
They are 31st in pass rate over expectation. And I don't know who they're throwing the ball to. I'm excited for you to preview that Thursday night game, though.
I just forgot I have to do that. Oh, that'll be fun. Patriots defensive captain.
Can you please make Mason Taylor the cover boy of your article, just for everyone to like, oh man, maybe he knows something.
I mean, hey, we saw what Kate Otten did in this matchup. They've been giving up production to tight ends, so maybe we're onto something here.
That is how fantasy works. You go, man, okay, so who did they play last week? Oh, that guy had a good game.
Yeah.
Maybe this guy will have a good game.
Kyle, when Mason Taylor goes 3 for 34 and a touchdown, I don't want to hear you giving him a hard time, okay?
He's the piece that you needed to unlock everything else in the lineup.
That's right.
He was the skeleton key. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll talk about salary standouts.
On November 14th, the Now You See Me movie franchise is back. The Four Horsemen of Magic, Jesse Eisenberg, Woody Harrelson, Dave Franco, and Isla Fisher are reuniting for their biggest heist yet. This film delivers everything fans want. Surprises, stunning practical magic, and a few twists. It's the most fun your whole family will have in the theater this fall. Now You See Me, Now You Don't. Rated PG-13. Only in theaters Friday. Get tickets.
Here for the Lowe's early Black Friday deals? You're right on time for some of our biggest savings. We're talking up to 50% off select major appliances, plus up to an extra 25% off when you bundle select major appliances. Holiday lights going up soon? Select ladders are up to 50% off right now. Get Black Friday prices without the Black Friday crowds. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 11/19. Selection varies by location. Select locations only. While supplies last. See Lowe's.com for more details.
All right, before I hit that button to talk about salary standouts, I did just want to muse a little bit about fantasy analysis. We were joking earlier about Mason Taylor, matchups and stuff like that. I laugh because every single week we give our analysis, we write stuff down, we put in articles, we try to condense it to what's most valuable. And then usually I will get some message from somebody saying, why didn't you talk about this player? He's in a good matchup. Or you failed to mention this player. Or it's like, obviously I can't think of every single player to write in every single article with every single matchup. But it's just funny to me how many different angles you can take with every single player and saying it's a good or a bad matchup, and then how many things that you leave out. So tight ends, we were joking about that. K. Dotton had a really good week. And K. Dotton was also necessary because they were trailing in the fourth quarter. Tez Johnson was also really helpful and necessary in DFS. And I'm profiling him on the Dynasty podcast. Both of his touchdowns were very, very, very fortunate. Both of them were scramble drills. Both of them were in the back of the end zone. His target share was doo-doo. It's not a repeatable performance, and yet we can use his stats and go, look at him, he got 2 touchdowns. All of that to say, half of this stuff, guys, is literally chaotic and random and vibes based, and not just he scored and therefore another wide receiver will score against the Buccaneers the next week or for the Buccaneers. It's vibes, man.
Yeah, except for that's exactly how this is going to go this week. Just because you said that, we can just copy and paste last week. It's certainly going to happen. No, it's a good point. I don't know what percentage of you would say is random and luck, but we are betting on human beings to do certain things or trying to predict what human beings are going to do. And as I mentioned, you can't predict when Sean Payton's going to call a random Cortland Sutton pass on 3rd and 1 in a huge game. So people do weird stuff. Coaches call weird plays. Players, have certain motivations, or guys might be nicked up and we don't know that they have an injury, stuff like that. So yeah, there's so much of this that's just left to chance, and that's the reality.
I was thinking about it with JSN this past week. JSN was a great play. JSN's been a great play the entire year. I didn't play JSN in cash. I didn't play him a lot in tournaments. I was underweight. But I was really fortunate to run into an outcome where JSN was not needed for 2 quarters because they were up by so much, where you just happen to get into that game environment where he's not seeing any other volume the rest of the way, where playing JSN on one side and then a Jacoby and McBride stack made so much sense if you were just looking at the game, but the game environment rolled out that way. The confirmation bias can look back and be see, you didn't even need JSN this week. But it's no, you just kind of ran into a really, really fortunate outcome. I just needed to say that because there's so many stats that you can justify, and hopefully you understand we try our best to minimize what we can get wrong or right, but then also there's just a lot of chaos out there.
Salary standouts.
It's early in the week, and Betz and I are going to list some players that you can add to your player pool for week 11. And at quarterback, I'm right back at Josh Allen. And when I was deciding this past week about cash, the conversation I had with myself is am I really going to pass up on Josh Allen at $7K against the Dolphins, and I couldn't do it. Now I'm going to be doing the same thing where I think he's in a better game environment, same exact price, $7K against the Buccaneers, highest total of the week. You can go there, or you can drop down. And if you want to talk about the quarterbacks that we talked about earlier, Mac Daddy Jones at 5.3, Jacoby Brissett at 4.9. I built a lineup this morning over my coffee, and it had Jacoby in it, and you can do a lot of fun things with Jacoby Brissett in a lineup.
I have the same names listed. It's a fun slate. It's kind of like last week. Spend up or spend all the way down. I will say, Josh Allen has gone Superman mode in games where like they have to have it. Obviously, anything can happen on a short week, but we all expect the Patriots to beat the Jets. Like at this point, the Bills are not looking likely to win the division. They're 6-3. The Patriots, assuming they win Thursday night, will be 9-2. This is one of those like kind of soft skills of DFS. Like I really could see Josh Allen just going, "Hey, I'm putting the team in my back. We have to win this game, and I'm going to do it." So I think we could see an uptick in his rushing production this week. I really like Josh Allen. I don't know what the builds look like come Friday for cash, but yeah, just wanted to put that out there. I think his ceiling is massive this week.
All right, I got a question for you. The Cardinals. Okay, still going back to Jacoby. Where do you think they rank in terms of pass rate over expectation compared to the entire league?
Justin Jacoby starts?
No, let's just say for the season.
They're definitely top 10. Fourth.
What if I told you it was second?
Wow. Let Jacoby
behind
cook.
the Chiefs. I know, man. It's been really fun and really fun to see that they're like, you know what? This hasn't really gone so well. So let's just let this dude who's a clear, like not a factor, not a plan for them. Let's just let him do his thing. So I just like that aspect of this team, and I like the price. So at 4.9, what do I have to get Jacoby to do? Dude, if you put up 15 points, that's all I actually need. But you and I know, like, he's going to project better than that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, he makes a lot of sense. I also like Caleb, like I talked about in that matchup, just for tournaments. 5,900 on DK. Just the ceiling is there. The floor, I think, is also there, but he's fun for tournaments.
All right, going to running back, CMC is 9K, and I think he's probably going to be in that mix. Yet again, we talked about the game environment. Him and Bijan. Bijan's $700 cheaper. I know some people are probably annoyed that Tyler Algier has been in the mix, but I think he's also in a good spot. Those two are going to project the best, and I think it warrants in cash. If you spend down at quarterback, you can definitely get in one of those dudes in cash. There are a number of elite wide receivers that I have circled this week that I'm like, ooh, I really want to play these dudes. So CMC and Bijan. I do like a couple of running backs early in the week in the 5K range. So Chase Brown is 5.7. They're coming off the bye. They're playing the Steelers, a game that we highlighted earlier. And then tell me what you think about Travis Etienne. He's at home, 5.6. The Chargers have been one of those teams that for the entire year you can run on this team. They're actually designed that way. They're fifth against the pass, but 26 in yards before contact, and they're allowing 4.9 yards per carry. So Travis Etienne is still getting the heavy workload, and yet he's not priced that way.
Yeah, it's been a little frustrating because you will see Tootin near the goal line, but the price is good, the matchup's good. I think it makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, he's in play. We still want to wait on news in Denver. I know we talked about not liking that game, but if J.K. Dobbins is out, R.J. Harvey is somebody that's going to creep into the conversation. He's not free, though. Like, I need to point that out, that when you get a backup running back, everyone runs to it and says, like, I need to play this player. He's $5,400, which is fine. It's a fine price tag if you knew he was getting 15 touches. I still think he's not a guarantee to see 15 touches. They've kind of used him as like third down back and red zone back only. His role has been weird, but if Dobbins is out, I think he's circled, right?
I think so. Yeah, there's definitely some fragility there, but I think he'd be on the short list for sure.
And then another name that I just want to mention is Woody Marks. He's also 5,400. The Texans are a touchdown favorite against the Titans, and last week he saw his highest snap percentage of the entire season, 80%. So Woody Marks is another name that is in the mix early in the week. On FanDuel, want to mention Rico at 8.1 against the Run Funnel Falcons. That's what they call them. Us in the stands. That's what we're saying. Run Funnel. I did think about going to this game, and then I just this is not, my heart doesn't want it. My heart doesn't want to pay money to be disappointed at home against the freaking Panthers of all teams. So can't do that. But Rico 8.1, Jaylen Warren. We talked about the Steelers and their implied total. He's 7K. Those are some good tags that stand out on FanDuel. But I think the conversation early in the week is, what do you do at wide receiver? JSN is 8.9, Puka's 8.7, Jamar Chase is 8.5. I just want to play all three. And maybe what I'm going to do is play all three, play a CMC, and then just punt everything else and see what happens.
I mean, you'll need Jacoby to do it. It's like kind of like last week, right? Like there's a lot of really good expensive plays, and picking the wrong one feels terrible. Yeah, man, Jamar Chase, it's so easy to just say, hey, what did he do last time these teams played? Oh, saw 1 million targets, like just play him. So yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough. The top of the price pool this week is very strong.
Now, I'm going to try to do a sick thing and see if I can even make a lineup that has... It would be so fun to make a lineup that just has 4 studs and then 5 dudes you've never heard of before. Just see if you could get through that way. So those 3 wide receivers are going to be above everyone else. And I could see myself playing all of them. I think early in the week, Chase is my favorite, just based on if I'm picking based on matchup, and he's a little bit cheaper and coming off the bye. But Nico Collins at 6.7 was a really fun tournament play this past week. And now I feel like he's going to catch the cash conversation of somebody in the 6K range that you feel pretty confident about. I mean, they gave him he had 6 red zone targets this past week. They were trying to make it happen. Didn't catch a touchdown. But he's really cheap in the 6K range. T. Higgins is the cheaper version of Chase, if you want to, down at 6K. DK Metcalf, who is the most frustrating player to roster in any format, is 5.7 against the Bengals. That's the only reason that he is on our radar. Any thoughts about the Packers wide receivers? Because I went into yesterday thinking like, man, Romeo Doubs is only 5K. Well, who am I going to play among the Packers, and will they ever want to throw the ball against the Giants?
Yeah, it's tricky. Romeo Doubs left Monday Night Football with a chest injury, so we're waiting on him. But you saw Dontavian Wicks pop up for a decent game. He is cheap. Christian Watson always has the big playability. He is cheap. So I think one of the Green Bay wide receivers is really interesting. I'm not sure how many pass attempts we get from Jordan Love in this spot, assuming they can have success running the football. But it's intriguing. I'll just say that. Jordan Love and the Packers offense is very frustrating, but we know that they are capable of popping up for huge games. And so if the price is there, and these guys are all, like on FanDuel, they're all sub 6K, excluding Dobbs. On DraftKings, they're all sub 5K, excluding Dobbs. So the price is right. We know the ceiling is there. I think it makes sense.
Yep. Jerry Jeudy at 4.4 is one of those targets per dollar plays that I have circled early in the week. So make sure you add him to your player pool as well. At tight end, you could pay up once again for Trey McBride if you want to stack him with Jacoby. I think that's a fine stack. George Kittle, a little bit lower, is at 5K. I do like some of the options below 4K. So Harold Fannin at 3.8, I think is a intriguing play if you want to look there. I did want to point this guy out because I feel like it's more sad that I need to bring him up. But TJ Hawkinson is 3K, man. That's just like, he's slowly like devolving into like, they're just going to eventually like forget that he's playing football, and DraftKings is going to leave him out of the player pool.
I don't even list him. Oh, it's been tough to watch this year, man. What did he even do last week? I didn't even realize. 2 targets. 91% of the snaps, 2 targets.
Oh, no, dude. He was running way more routes than like almost anybody. So the opportunity was there. All right. He met the criteria. He just didn't get selected, as Isaiah Thomas once said.
All right. His yardage. Are you ready?
Oh, man.
43, 26, 11, 8, over the last 4 weeks. If these trends continue, Kyle,
he's going to not exist on our planet.
This week, 4 yards. Next week, 2 yards. Then just out of the league.
I will say, if you look in our first look article, which is out on the website, and you sort by targets per dollar, if you just look at that column, he's going to show up as pretty, like a good play at 3K. That's it. I just need to mention him. I guess you can go some other directions if you want. Could you go Luke Musgrave here if you can't settle on a Packers wide receiver?
You could. I wouldn't. I mean, unless you're stacking Jordan Love, I wouldn't play both in cash, I would say.
No, definitely not. At defense, I usually would just say, man, I don't know what I'm going to do on a Tuesday. There are about 3 or 4 options below 3K that I'm already excited and that I think will be a part of the cash conversation. You could play the Chargers against a quarterback named Trevor Lawrence, who thinks he's playing the NFL. They're only 2,800. And the Chargers have been a pretty good unit. They're 4th in EPA per rush, 8th in EPA per pass. I think that's a good spot for them. If you wanted to play Denver, because you're not scared of the matchup against the Chiefs, we will never, ever get a Broncos defense at 2,600 ever again.
Buttlicker, our prices have never been lower.
So Broncos at 2,600, a top 5 in EPA per play defense. It's not a bad call if you want to go that direction. And then the Titans are 2,300. If you wanted to just punt away and it's Davis Mills, even if it's Stroud, I think it's totally in play. They're the cheapest defense of the week. And we forget, 2 weeks ago, they were $2,000 and they were in the Millie-making winning lineup while losing to the Chargers, which is just crazy to think about for defense.
I mean, at that price, you don't need them to do that much, right? But they had I think it was a punt return and sacks and stuff like that. Yeah. It's not crazy. If you just wanted to say, hey, I'm prioritizing the wide receivers, McCaffrey, like you got to save money. So yeah, why not?
I think the field is going to be paying down across the board. I mean, they're the expensive options this week. If you want to play the Ravens at home, if you want to play the Texans against Cam Ward, I'm very tempted by the Texans in Survivor Pool this week. And I've gone back and forth with bets about what we're going to do, Ravens or Texans. And Cam Ward is the easiest reason to say, hey, this team's going to implode. But they're at home, coming off a bye. You have to think that somebody in the building did some work over the bye. That's like one of the things I'm thinking about for some of these teams. Like, what was the game plan? Or is there just interns farting around saying, we don't have a game this week. We're the Titans. We're one of the worst teams in the league. So those are both interesting teams. If you want to play with us, go to ballersdfs.com. It will direct you to our DraftKings League, Fantasy Footballers DFS, Borg Betz. We'd love to play with you. We have a Thursday night contest. And I will sign us off because Matthew's voice is essentially gone. He is still with us in spirit. He is still with us in body. But barely surviving. Make sure you check out everything at dfspass.com. And we'll see you again on Friday. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Fantasy Footballers DFS and Betting Podcast. Don't forget to visit us on the web at thefantasyfootballers.com.
My dog Max loves chewing on my favorite pair of shoes, almost as much as he loves his Blue Buffalo Life Protection Formula dry dog food. Seriously, he never leaves a crumb. And I love it too, because it's made with high-quality protein, antioxidant-packed fruits, and nutrient-rich veggies. Blue Buffalo foods are made with the superior ingredients your dog needs to thrive. Can your dog food say that? Visit feedbluefood.com to learn more.
'Tis the season of gifting and halls to deck, and the Who's and Who Newville were in love with new tech. Where can we find Sonos and Samsung and Nintendo, they shouted. Would they find it in one place? This they questioned and doubted. When suddenly a Who yelled, Walmart's the place to start! And each Who added headphones, TVs, and games to their carts. With Walmart, their shopping was done in a flurry. They cried out, who knew? And ordered their gifts in a hurry. Shop the latest tech gifts in the Walmart app.